good morning, good day, and good evening. I'm as always your host, Brody Robertson, and today, I think this is episode 200. Don't quote me on that, and I don't have anything special planned. Maybe I'll do something another time. Or maybe I'll just forget about it like I did with every celebration on the main channel. Regardless, welcome to the show, Kai Potter, as part of the KDE Network, a project that many of you probably have never heard of. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you, Brody?
Not too bad. Also, just a heads up for the people that have trouble with accents, there is now 2 Australians on the podcast, so good luck with that.
Oh no.
I've had people from like all over the world on. I had Mirko Bromban on, and he has like a really thick Italian accent and struggles with English. So I'm sure people will be fine. I'm sure people are already saying, "Oh, why are they British? Why are they New Zealand?" Just stop.
Yeah. I was asked what part of Britain I was from when I was over in the US quite a lot.
Yep. I don't get it myself. I don't know. It's not that difficult to tell the difference.
I think they're listening for the like stereotypical like Australian accent that doesn't exist outside of American movies.
I've spoken to some people that live like real rural. Like I know some people that live like along the Murray, and they've got some pretty thick accents. It's just outside of that, you're just not going to hear it.
Yeah.
So, KDE Network. I guess we'll start with what even is this? Because as we were talking about before, just finding the fact that it exists is kind of difficult.
Yeah. Turns out our SEO, like how easy it is to Google this is, it's impossible. You can't find it. You have to know exactly where it is and what it is already, which sort of defeats the point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but the entire point of it is just to build communities in places where free software, like adoption, would be scattered or non-existent.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, to build up user groups in places. So, for example, Australia, not very many people, like it's not nearly as big here as it is in, let's say, Germany or other countries in Europe. Um, for example, like we have some like KDE and even other open source projects. Like there's some really great products here. Like we've got Critter, we've got Kden Live. Those are usable by anyone, no matter what operating system you're on. I think Critter's even on Android now. I don't know how, but it somehow happened.
Oh, it
But
is. What?
they're not really that well known.
Yeah.
So the point of this project is to try and bring that and also all of our promotion and all of that outside of Europe, outside of that area of the world, because all of the contractors, a lot of the people who are in KDE are all in that same geographical area. So it's not, we can promote really hard there, but there's only so much there, and there's so many people in the rest of the world.
Yeah. Like I've noticed it's not just a KDE thing, but like Red Hat does events a lot in Europe, GNOME does events in Europe. A lot of the time there is events in Europe. There's obviously a lot of stuff that happens in the US as well, but it seems like primarily Europe is where it happens.
Yeah, everything happens in Europe, and the point of this is to try and at least have something outside of there. And even the events that do exist outside of Europe, KDE isn't there.
Yeah.
The point of this project is to have a small community in every country around the world, to try and expand our horizons beyond that.
Wait. Where is the website? Wait, did they let this? I went to the LinuxConf AU's website, and I think they let their SSL cert expire.
Oh no.
Well, let's not. Let's go to their Twitter page. Fine. Well, I guess that explains why there's no event planned for 2023.
Yep. Okay.
Um, yeah, it seems like they just didn't have any plan at all throughout the entire year. But there is everything open, which happened back in March.
Yes. The Australian network
Mhm,
currently consists of myself and a few others, and
mhm,
we haven't actually attended any events yet.
mhm,
The Australian network is inactive at the moment. Is the
mhm.
best way to say it. We need more members.
Yeah, I did scroll through the Matrix, and I've noticed that what like the last message was like September or so.
Yeah, we exist and we're all there wanting to help, but none of us have actually been available to go to any events at the
Right,
moment.
right.
That is just the Australian one, though. For example, the USA. I don't have the ones that have happened this year.
Mhm.
Um, I have the ones that happened last year, though.
Okay.
For example, they went to Scale 19. Wait, Scale 19X. That makes it sound like it was 2019. Did I? No,
Okay.
it started in 2020. That doesn't work. Okay, Scale 19X,
Mhm.
which is the largest community-run software conference in North America.
Mhm. Here we go. Scale 19.
Sorry, just give me a
Oh,
minute.
okay. They called it 19X because it was the 19th edition.
Oh, like a yeah, 19th Expo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, went to Scale 19X, and
Mhm.
funnily enough, the All American High School Film Festival.
Okay. Sure.
Um, so the reason we went to that one is because Caden Live exists
Ah,
and
yep.
it's free. And have you seen how much Adobe charges?
Let's find out. I've not used Adobe in a long time. Adobe, is it Adobe Cloud? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, Creative Lab.
Let's have a look. Uh, okay. Buy now. So, for the all app suite, $43.97 a month. Why would you pay $29 for Acrobat? Okay. For just video stuff, let's say you just want Premiere. 30 Australian dollars a month. Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, that's a bit.
or Caden Live,
Mm.
$0 a month, and it's open source.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, because it's full featured, but it doesn't have a large user base.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, yeah, we did an event over there. The USA KDE Network did an event, like put up a booth at that film festival.
Mm-hmm.
And quote from their blog article they wrote, we reached lots of excited students. I suspect many of them will try Caden Live shortly. Moreover, we reached many excited educators who
Mm-hmm.
thought Caden Live would fit in their classroom in one way or another.
Oh wow. So it seemed like it had like a positive effect then.
A very positive effect from this.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's just what the USA group's done. There's
Mm-hmm.
also like we go over to oh, what's another big one? Um, the next biggest one, I would say, actually, no, probably bigger than what we did in the USA, would be
Mm-hmm.
India. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I've just realized I don't know how to pronounce this. Give me a moment. I still cannot pronounce that.
Type it in the chat.
Okay. Um,
Uh, Malayal, Malayalam. Okay.
I think that's it.
It's as good as we're gonna
Um,
get.
yes. We were
Mm-hmm.
so of course schools and governments and everything in India needs computers and stuff
Mm-hmm.
for for obvious reasons.
Right.
Um, we actually managed to get through this KDE network program. We managed to get all of our KDE software
Mm-hmm.
translated and localized to um, that language
Mm-hmm.
before Windows.
Oh, okay.
And because of that, We now have an official government contact, and um, I'm not sure if you've heard it. G-Compress, one of our pieces of software, is used very widely in the school system, as well as Critter and Kden Live.
Wow. No, I wasn't aware of this one. So this is like Compress is a high quality educational software suite including a number of activities for children aged 2 to 10. Okay. Oh, so it's like an identify color thing. Oh, so it's like just a general overall like education suite.
Yes,
That's really cool.
and it's used very widely in schools in that region.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so apparently a lot of Kerala, which is quite actually a pretty big chunk of India,
Mm-hmm.
is very widely using this software. So we've targeted that area, and people actually know what our software is over there.
Wow. So that's actually really cool because I know there's a lot of projects that are what's I'm blanking on the name now. Um it starts with an E. Linux distro. Ships GNOME. Um Someone's gonna. I've had the guy who runs it on the show. Uh,
Oh no!
there are projects like that which are definitely targeting like developing nations, and it's good to see that there's more happening. There's more of that happening outside of just GNOME-based projects because, you know, GNOME's great as well, but KDE offers a different experience, and it would be nice to see KDE trying to fill in those gaps that maybe, you know, that like those projects are not touching yet.
We need options.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, without options, there's no competition, and without competition, there's no anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We need
Absolutely.
competition. There needs to be, realistically, we need Windows, we need Mac OS, we
Mm-hmm.
need Linux, and we need all the desktop environments that come with it.
Yep.
As many options as we can get, the more options, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But options aren't anything if you don't know about them, and that's what this
Yes.
whole project is about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, I still can't actually believe that we managed to we managed to do that
Mm-hmm.
with that India thing.
Well, I guess if there's a void there that's not being filled, like not it's not that crazy that it happens. It would be one thing, you know, if there was already like Windows established there as like the main thing, but if Windows hadn't approached that translation yet, like it makes perfect sense why something that's actually going to deal with it, you know, fits
Yeah,
well into that space. And that's one of the
yeah,
advantages you have of these open source FOSS projects, whatever term you want to be using. If someone wants to do that translation, they don't have to wait for some contract to come along to get it done. Like if they want it done, then, you know, they can, you know, with a couple other people, get that done themselves.
yes. Again, all of our translation stuff, it's all out there. Anyone can pop in and start working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we need people in a specific area who know a specific language, we will see if we can find people there who are willing to contribute
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps do what we did in India. In Kerala, I probably said that wrong, but see if we can do that in more places, spread
Mm-hmm.
information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's what we did in India. We've also been to Brazil and went to Latinoware,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is the biggest free software event in Latin America. Another quote from their blog. I have one of these for everyone except for the India one for some reason.
Is there a problem on my end, or is it just a bunch of websites with broken SSL certs right now?
Um, is Latinoware broken for you?
Yeah,
Let me have
it's
a look.
check it out yourself.
What is happening?
Okay,
No,
so it's
that's
not my
broken for
end.
me as well.
Okay, that's good. I'm happy there's nothing broken on my side.
When did it expire?
Let's see. Certificate not
Not
valid.
after 21st. It's a couple of days out.
Yeah. Huh. Anyone from Latinoware happens to see this, fix your SSL cert.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Instagram. That'll work. Okay, here we go. Instagram has a working SSL cert. They know how to automate it.
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, now we can see what they do. Cool.
Okay. Quote from their blog. They loved everything, and many attendees were unaware that actual free software existed for educational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, even you haven't heard of Gcompress.
Well, it's not exactly like something targeted towards me, so it kind of makes sense why I hadn't heard of it, but it would be nice if stuff like this was able to get out there a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. But if people, I mean, like, if people like you don't know about it, I mean, you're very much in the space,
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
Then what chance does some primary school or some preschool have of finding out about
I guess
that?
that's a good way to put it, yeah.
If someone in the space can't find it, people outside of the space definitely can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so we went to Latinoware. Lot of exposure through that.
Mm-hmm.
And in China, we also have a community in China.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Linux Application Ecosystem Salon.
What a name.
It
Linux
is a
application.
name.
Tell me they don't have a broken SSL cert. Linux application ecosystem. Wait,
I've sent it to you in chat if you need to
thank
copy
you. Yeah,
paste
I don't
it.
want to type.
Oh, it's ungoogleable as well. Oh, I love how one of the things that comes up is our fabricator ticket when you search that.
Okay, wait. Ubuntu Kylan went there. That's something. Um. Wait. No, I think I found it. I think maybe. Or this is a blog about it. Oh, okay. This is a blog about it. Okay, this works. This is from
Okay.
2021.
Um. Yep, I'm on that blog as well.
Mhm.
Yes, this is one of the people who was in our yeah, that's actually from someone in KDE Network China.
Oh, perfect then.
I think that is.
I
I'm
become a
not 100% sure, but I
I've
think
become a
that
KDE
actually might be.
developer and joined Plasma Mobile Team. Well, they're a KDE developer regardless.
Yeah. Um. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, didn't meet any Chinese developer online. I'm gonna say they're in that. I could probably check just by going to the list. As all of the lists of who's in all these groups are public. Um, and yeah, so they were there to just promote development of the software within Chinese unis,
Mhm.
and actually because there's a bit of a disconnect because China
Mhm.
about how FOSS development actually works.
Mhm.
So this was also to sort of promote um, how this software is developed, how everything works. Because you can't contribute to something if you don't know, well, one, that you can, and
Mhm.
two, how to do it. So
Right.
that was a big focus of that event.
What do you mean? There's a
And
disconnect with like how to do it?
there would probably be a bit of a disconnect how to do it. And also the fact that we exist at all is another one.
Mhm. Mhm.
And another quote from their blog: after the event, I was approached by many students asking how they can support KDE.
Mhm.
So we probably got a couple of contributors through that.
Mhm.
Again, I don't have hard facts there, as we don't keep a register of where everyone is,
Right.
because that would be weird. Yeah, those are the major events that we have attended.
Mhm.
Uh, and at the moment, we are still trying to grow this program to more countries, to more everything.
Mhm.
Get as get as many people as we possibly can into these groups. Spread them out as far over, as many different places around the world as we can,
Mhm.
just to try and at least allow people to find our software. Because SEO isn't perfect, especially not of this program for some reason. Um, we can't just rely on word of mouth to spread things across borders.
Mm-hmm. So when did the project first start? If you happen to
Uh,
know
the,
roundabout.
yes, I do have that. It was proposed in 2020, actually, at Academy 2020,
Mm-hmm.
but the project actually started in 2021.
Okay. So it is like really new then.
It is a very new program, yes.
KDE Network. I wonder if I can find the proposal. No, I'm not gonna find the proposal.
It would
Wait,
probably
wait. I
be
think I found it.
in. Yep, you should be able to find it. It would probably be on YouTube. Just a recording of that proposal coming through.
I found the write up on .kde.org.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The Anika,
The
is it? Is that how
summary.
you say it? Um,
Anika, yeah.
yeah, Anika. That name's on the right up here.
Yeah. They also did a talk at Academy 2021,
Mhm,
talking a bit of a progress report as well.
mhm.
For some reason, I noted that one down, but not the proposal.
Well, you got something.
Um, I've got something. And yeah, all the stuff that happens through these promo events all
Mhm,
go onto the community reports,
mhm,
which is ev.kde.org/reports.
mhm,
Um, yeah, those are the annual report from KDE.
mhm,
Um, and you will find pretty much all of the activities from all these different communities and even non-KDE network stuff be put
mhm,
together in these reports.
mhm,
There's
mhm.
a lot of information here.
So obviously we have these. We'll do this in a two-part. If someone wants to join an existing KD network, say the Australia one, what would be the process they would go through to actually do so? And is there a different process based on, which group?
As far as I know, other networks don't really have any special groups, any special rules.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be from that area.
Mm-hmm.
You can, of course, join the room, like the matrix room, if you aren't from that area. But
Mm-hmm.
to actually properly join the group, you should actually be at least capable of traveling to that area.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to be willing to carry out a KDE event in that area
Mm-hmm.
and basically join the matrix, talk to people, and when something's coming up, just ask, hey, you're going to this event, can I join? Or, hey, I want to go to this event, does anyone want to help me try and get there?
Mm-hmm.
KDE EV will sponsor all of the promotional materials. If you try to go to an event, for example, usually you'll get KDE tablecloth and a KDE banner and a couple of other things to bring along with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Depending on where you are, that would either be shipped out to you or whatever. But to start your own thing in your own country,
Mm-hmm.
all you really need to do, again in Matrix, everything's through Matrix with KDE. Go into the promo room, just KDE promo
Mm-hmm.
room, and just say, "Hey, I live in this country. I would like to make a KDE network here." And one of the contractors, most likely Anika, will reach out to you and say, "Sounds great," um, and discuss getting that set up with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if anyone out there happens to be, in, I don't know, pick a country. Uh, I'm blanking on. You're in Jamaica. There we go. There's a country. You're in Jamaica and you want to set up a KDEV, a KDE network. Go do that.
Yes. And talking about that,
Mm mm mm.
um, this is sort of a bit more awkward because of how this has been sort of framed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was actually planning on inviting you to the Australian network.
Mm.
Hey, we're both in Australia. Um, if you want, I mean, you're already in the room now. Um, you're welcome to come along to any of our events. and help out promoting KDE in Australia.
I certainly would give it a thought, because I've been saying that I'm probably gonna try out Plasma 6 when it drops. We'll see how I feel about Plasma 6, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Plasma 6 again. I think you've even mentioned this in one of your recent videos, but it'll be a bit of a, well, it may end up being a little bit of a rocky start, but
Yeah, that's what
it'll
I hear.
get, yeah, it'll get very quickly ironed out just because of that huge influx of bug reports. We've
Yeah.
already got a ton of them that are very, very quickly being worked through.
Yeah, I know.
But of course, there will be people with very weird configurations.
Yeah, I know Nate's already done a blog post talking about how the second the alpha started, there was a giant uptick in bug reports, and that just makes sense. Now that you have an actual build that is available for people to use, it's something that people can easily install in their system, and people are gonna try weird things. Like, there's gonna be someone out there that has 3 Thunderbolt monitors. There's gonna be someone out there using a Haswell CPU. There's gonna be someone out there that's using some weird screen reader that nobody even realizes exists. All of those things are going to be out there, and I have no doubts the problems are going to be ironed out. But yeah, I've definitely been told that the first release is going to be, it's going to be rocky, but I don't expect it to be whatever KDE 4's first release was. Everything
it shouldn't be anything like KDE 4.
Everything I've heard about it from all the devs that are just running it daily right now, it's good. It just has, a couple of things that need to be ironed out. Unlike 4, which, from my understanding, I think 4 was it was released initially as a dev release, and people just assumed because it was KDE 4 that was considered the full release, and it just wasn't ready.
Yeah, KDE 4 was marketed, at least internally, as a development release, but the actual version number was 4.0.
Yeah.
Which really shouldn't have been done. But it happened.
Yeah, that's why
it's not happening again.
Yeah, that's where you see GIMP doing 2.99.26 or whatever it's on right now. I think 18 maybe. You always have it just before that flip over, just so you have that room to say, yes, this is clearly a dev release. Do not run this unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah. This is actually completely random, but if anything, I like what Mojang / Microsoft does with Minecraft Java snapshots. What is 23W04A?
It's very clearly a snapshot, is what it is.
Yeah, so
I'm sure internally they have
much more obvious.
I'm sure there's a meaning behind the each point. I don't know what it is, and it's completely off topic.
Yeah.
But having some clear numbering system, some clear naming system to indicate this is a dev release is really, really important.
Yes, yeah.
Does KDE currently have some sort of numbering? I actually don't know how the dev releases are titled.
I think actually I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure they're just beta 1, beta 2.
That's fair enough. That works as well.
Yeah. And then release candidate 1, release candidate 2.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that also works just fine. Any sort of indication is better than just 4.0 when it's not 4.0.
4.0, but don't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, it is very clear that everyone here has learnt from the KDE 4 experience. So with KDE 6, I mean, you've seen how much the time frame has been extended to give as much time as possible for ironing out bugs. There's even going to be things like a string freeze to make sure everything gets localized properly, and there isn't some languages have localized the old version of the string. It's been changed, and what that button does has also been changed or something like that.
Right.
There's a lot of different things that are making sure that this release will be as stable as we can possibly get it for a point
Mhm.
.0 release.
Right, because I expect with the translations, the big translations, like, the Spanish translation, the Mandarin translation, like all of these ones that have a big community around them, those will be fine. But when it's the smaller translations that maybe, like, 100 people use in the world, like, those I could easily see lagging behind pretty quickly.
Yes, although if you actually have a look at any of our Git repos,
Mm-hmm.
you will actually see that almost every commit
Mm-hmm.
is from, well, the GitLab name is ScriptKitty,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually our localization bot
Mm-hmm.
that just puts all the localization changes over from Subversion into Git.
I don't think I've seen that before. That's cool. You there?
So
Oh, hey.
just looking at that, I'm going
Yes.
to say that our localization, well, I guess our multiple localization teams are incredibly active,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
considering how much is being committed daily.
Well, right now is like the time they really need to be active. Like, this is the time where
Yes, this is the time.
this is
Yes.
crunch time, basically.
Even ignoring that though, if you look at even when it isn't crunch time, there
Mm-hmm.
is always a lot of localization changes happening.
Right, right.
Um, if anything, you really need to actually filter out ScriptKitty commits just because there's so many of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no doubt that they do a lot of really good work, but there's always going to be things that get missed because they might not be, the primary focus, and especially for those ones where there's like less
Yeah,
people working on it, because there's a lot of things to translate in KDE. So,
there's a lot of strings
mm-hmm.
in every repo in every project.
Mm-hmm.
There is so many strings being thrown around in every direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so much to translate into every language in the world.
Yeah.
Like we've got, we've also got to do it to for the other language I couldn't pronounce before. We've got to do it for that language as
Right,
well.
right.
Like there's so much
Mm-hmm.
that has to go into so many different languages. Stuff is going to be missed, but we're going to get it as best it possibly can be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish the best of luck. I hope that comes along really well. Um
I really hope as well. I'm not really a part of like the main development or
mhm,
the translation parts of things, but
yep.
I've just sort of been watching at a distance, going, "Ooh, hope this works." It's looking good. It's stuff's a lot of commits are being made, and a lot of those commits are changing a lot of things and making a lot of things better.
Mhm.
So that's, I don't know, from that sort of perspective, it looks good. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Mhm.
I don't know if that stuff is the right stuff, but it is definitely happening.
Well, as long as it's not the situation that happened with was it GNOME a couple of weeks back? Uh where is it? Was it this one? The was it the where someone just like put in some malicious translation into the project? Was it? Oh, it was in the
Oh,
Ubuntu
that
release.
one.
Yes, the Ubuntu release, where someone snuck something into one of the translations and nobody noticed until it came out.
Um, yes, I don't know what sort of review happens to ensure that doesn't happen here, but I would imagine there would be some form of review process. I know each team,
Mm-hmm.
like because each translation team, there's a one team for each language.
Mm-hmm.
Each team has a team leader, um, which can just veto anything that comes in from any team member,
Mm-hmm.
any translation team member. So there are processes, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Um, it's always a concern though, but you would hope that most people are trying to be a good actor and are trying to like improve the project. But then
Yes,
you have things
and
like the Blender DDoS. So some people are just like, some people are just assholes. Like, this is how it is.
there will always be those people.
I don't know why someone DDoS Blender. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are
What
you?
is the plan? What are you trying to achieve?
My favorite theory, my favorite theory is that Cloudflare DDoS them to get them to buy Cloudflare.
That would be very good. I mean, it wouldn't, but that's like top tier. That's great. Um,
Like,
um,
yeah. I don't know. The hope is that everybody is being, is trying to improve this and make it all better. But even like something like the Linux kernel, for example, there have been people that have tried to sneak things into the code base before. So I have no doubts that it happens on a project like KDE, and hopefully the people involved are paying attention and just reviewing what's coming in. And it sounds like, at least in most situations, that happens, but sometimes you may be caught sleeping and let something through that probably shouldn't be let through.
yeah, it does happen, but if that does happen, there are very strict processes that come into place to make sure that that person uh, does not help anymore
Mm-hmm.
because they are not helping.
Yeah, clearly.
Um, there is a pretty strong, actually, there's quite a difficult process. I mean, it's not difficult as in if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing the right thing, it's not very hard for you, but there is quite a process for getting a proper KDE developer account. You can, of course, contribute without one,
Mm-hmm.
but to actually get that developer status on your account, there is a there is quite a process because it does have some power behind it.
I
So
I've
there are
actually
checks in place.
I've never looked into that myself. What if you happen to like know part of the process off the top of your head?
Okay, so but mostly it is just contribute normally for the
Mm-hmm.
start, which is you do not have any commit rights to any repositories at all except for the ones in your own thing. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot merge anything. You're basically just a GitLab user on any other open source project.
Right.
Um, so you just have to do a handful of commits onto a couple of different repositories until you have you have a bit of time behind you. You have some commits behind you, and you have a SSH key,
Mm-hmm.
as in you've just generated your own SSH private key, which is one of the requirements. All you do, you open a ticket with sysadmin.
Mm-hmm.
Sysadmin will review it. They'll look at your commits. They'll look at what you've done. They will double check everything. They'll see if you've upset anyone in the community. I'm not actually sure the full list of what they check, but they do a lot of checks and it takes a while for them to process these
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they come with an amount of power and they will have the final yes or no.
Right.
You also require someone else who is already a developer to sponsor your application.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's similar
So,
with I've looked at the process to become like an Arch maintainer before. It sounds fairly similar where you need to have been involved, going through bug reports, things like that, and then somebody else involved with it is like, hey, this person's a good member of the community, let's bring them on.
yeah, a similar process, except here you are contributing in the same way that anyone else would be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and even when you do get that full developer right, you don't just start just committing to random projects directly.
Right.
Um, that's just not good practice or really good at all. You
Mm-hmm.
should still be opening merge requests for almost everything you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it does give you the ability to, for example, if you end up being the maintainer of a project, first thing you actually can be a maintainer of that project.
Mm-hmm.
You can close issues. You can accept merge requests, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's quite a few things that actually require a developer account for it to be a thing. Like for example, I'm not strictly a developer, but
Mm-hmm.
I do have a developer account just because I need it for a couple of different things I do around KDE.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's simple enough. So, when did you first like start getting involved with Linux and then get involved with KDE? Were you using KDE from the start, or was that something you started doing later?
I actually started, well, actually, pretty much like most people started with GNOME.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was many years ago now. I was dual booting Windows and Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was my first sort of experience with Linux. I can't actually remember what year that was, um, but that was quite a few years ago now.
Was it
I
before or
experimented with that
after
a bit.
Unity, if you remember?
Before or after Unity? Oh, I actually cannot remember. Ubuntu Unity. I first release was 2004. It would have been before Unity. If it says here was first release was 2004. Yeah.
That's the first release of
Oh
Unity.
wait, that's a different distro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when
Okay.
like the remix came out.
Okay.
Ubuntu switches to Unity. Um, Unity was removed in 2017.
It probably would have been up during Unity.
Okay.
Um, maybe during, maybe slightly after.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it was sort of vaguely at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried it a bit then, used it as like as a second operating system, not my primary, not my daily driver, just sort of experimenting with things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I stopped using Linux for a while and just completely dropped out of it for a couple of years. Then about the same time, actually, yeah, pretty much about the same time as Linus started doing their gaming on Linux challenge.
Mm.
Just a little bit before that, actually, was when I was starting to experiment with Linux again.
Mm.
So I was starting to experiment. I installed Arch on a second petition, and then yes, I went with Arch. I know.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
on Arch still. It's fine.
yeah, I installed Arch on a second petition, and then as I was starting to experiment with that a bit, and I'm like, not all my stuff's quite working yet.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I was using Arch, I actually chose KDE when I was using Arch. That's
Mm-hmm.
my first time using KDE there. Um, and then, probably a couple of months after, Linus announced their Gaming on Linux challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at that going, huh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting decisions made there.
Yeah, I
Um,
did videos on that entire series. There,
yes,
there were, you know, Luke knew what he was doing.
Luke knew what he was doing.
Even then, still had Nvidia troubles because Nvidia.
Yes. NVIDIA is very unique on
Mm.
Linux. I can say that as someone who is currently running two NVIDIA GPUs of different generations.
What do you happen to have?
A 2060 and a 1050 Ti.
Why do you even? I'm sorry. Why is the 1050 Ti there?
Um, so the 1050 Ti is because I have an extra slot and
Huh.
I need it. The other thing is, it is the newest NVIDIA GPU that
Uh-huh.
also one I happen to have. Actually, probably the newest, but it's one of the NVIDIA GPUs that works with macOS. So I can actually emulate macOS and have GPU acceleration. Also, if I need to
Oh.
run OBS, I can offload OBS to my other GPU,
Mm-mm.
so it doesn't bog down anything.
That is a good. Actually, you make a fair point there. Okay.
It doesn't help that much, but it does help a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
But it does mean that I cannot run the partially open source NVIDIA drivers because one GPU supports it and the other one doesn't.
There's some work being done there. But yeah, it the Novo stuff is it's coming along. It's going to be a while
Oh,
before it's actually usable.
yeah, Novu stuff. Yeah, that's definitely coming along as well. Um, I'm actually surprised that that project has come as far as it has so far.
That's how I also feel about Asahi Linux. I when I saw it initially, I was like, I saw the people involved, like, yeah, you all have great experience, but there's no way that this is going to be possible. Surely not. And now we have Linux just mostly working fine on Apple Silicon. Like, okay, sure. All
Yeah,
right.
you might have to recompile everything, but it's just Gen 2 then, isn't it?
It's we it's a Fedora. I think it's a Fedora base now.
It's Fedora based, yeah. They've switched it to Fedora based.
Yeah, yeah,
I wonder if they're recompiling all of the Fedora repos now for
yeah.
ARM.
I'm not sure that what's being done on the back end because I don't have Apple Silicon myself.
Well, I guess I'll find out when someone I know ends up with Apple Silicon.
So, why did you start wanting to use Linux in the first place? Because you mentioned that you'd been using it. You used it for
I
a while
used it
back.
on and off.
Yeah.
Um, I switched to Linux because I'm not sure why I originally tried it. I
Mm.
actually do not remember. Um, but these days I have decided to switch.
Mhm.
Oops, sorry, my computer's trying to lock itself. Um, I forgot to turn that off. These days I'm using it just because some parts of it actually just work better for my workflow.
Mhm.
Um, it allows me to do a couple of things that I can't really do on Windows that easily,
Mhm.
but mostly because Windows is starting to do some things that are really annoying me.
Mhm.
For example, Windows 10, I was like, oh, cool, that's nice, new interface, new everything. Then I clicked on something in the start menu and it started downloading it and installing it. Like, I was trying to click on this, try and work out what this program is, and you
Mhm.
just installed it.
Mhm.
No pop-ups, no asking, no prompts.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, at the moment, there's also they're experimenting with ads in File Explorer again.
Exactly where I want ads.
Yeah, I've seen two
What?
separate occasions of this happening. There's one more recent. It was actually on a platform previously known as Twitter.
Mhm.
Um, someone was like, "Hey, they're doing it again," and it was they were in their documents folder, and it was advertising, "Hey, you should be using OneDrive, so it stays synced with all your other devices as like a side panel."
Right. Right. Right.
So it's just the little things like that that are really starting to annoy me. And of course, other things like development. If I need to compile something, I can actually do it on Linux and it sort of works, and I don't need Visual Studio to take up 20 gigabytes on my hard drive. Only to realize it's the wrong version of Visual Studio. Now I need five different versions of Visual Studio, one version for each piece of software I need to compile.
Yep. Yep.
And at one point I was messing around. I never actually got anywhere with it, but with making like a Nintendo homebrew software.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but it turns out if you want to do that, the main project you would use is DevKit Pro.
Mhm.
Issue is DevKit Pro only runs on Linux, really. Like it's heavily integrated with all the Linux binaries,
Yep. Yep.
but they have a Windows build. It uses MSYS2. I'm unsure if you've heard of that.
MSYS2. It's ringing a bell. MSYS2. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I've used this before. Yep, okay.
Yeah. Thing is, MSYS2, it is incredibly cursed. There is something incredibly wrong about opening a Windows command prompt, then opening Bash and running Pac-Man.
Oh, it's a modified version of Sigwin. Oh, that does sound cursed.
Yes. And yeah, it just feels wrong using it.
Mhm.
And I've made some incredibly cursed images by combining like the Windows version of Dolphin with some like MSYS2 stuff happening. I actually posted an image to Reddit where I like had like Pac-Man updating something, and I had like the Windows version of Dolphin open, and someone said that I needed a better, what is it, a better Windows theme. Okay, you should try and improve that. Once you get a better Windows theme, you should try calling some scammers. This
Oh,
is Windows.
God.
I opened Dolphin.
And
Oh,
Redditors.
because Dolphin
Redditors.
does have unofficial Windows builds.
Why?
I don't know. I think they were experimenting with it at some point and then just never turned off the builder for it.
Dolphin File Explorer for Windows. It's it is on it is okay on Windows. What? Well, I guess it makes
Um,
sense. It is cute. So
it can run. It's built in a way that it does run on Windows. It's
uh,
not. You don't expect support if you actually use that, but we do compile it for Windows.
mhm.
Um, that being said, that I'm guessing you're on the Jenkins binary factory at the moment.
Ooh, what?
Oh, sorry. I'm actually not sure what website you're on. I was just assuming you're on binary factory, which is our Jenkins instance.
Oh, no, I just found some Reddit posts mentioning it.
Oh, okay. Um, but yeah, it is a thing,
Mhm.
and yeah, so yeah, the reason I switched over to Linux because I had all these things. I was essentially using Linux on Windows anyway.
Right,
I
right.
tested out Linux a couple more times, and one day, one of my friends actually, who's also into this sort of stuff,
Mhm.
um, managed to completely move. They were over for a couple of months. I was still hopping in and out, trying my best to move, but some things just didn't work that I really needed to use at that time.
Mhm.
I couldn't get it working. Most of that's been cleared up now, and now I am dual booting, but I primarily use Linux and only really ever boot over to Windows for virtual reality stuff
Right, right.
because I have a Windows mixed reality headset. There
Oh,
is work, yes, there
yeah.
is work to
Okay.
get that running on Linux.
Mhm.
It's not ready yet.
Because I was gonna say, like, VR stuff works just fine on KDE, but I don't know about that specifically.
Yes, if you're doing that though, you should be using Xorg.
Yeah, I know there is support for the headsets on the Wayland version because KDE actually supports DRM leasing, unlike GNOME, which I need to do a video on that at some point. I don't know if you did.
NVIDIA doesn't on Wayland.
Oh, Nvidia is a problem as well. I didn't think about that part. Yeah, okay. Because the support is there and it will work with like AMD and Intel stuff. I didn't consider the Nvidia stuff.
Yes, so it's almost there. It's getting close now. Now we
Mhm.
just need NVIDIA to fix their drivers, and then the project that's working on I've forgotten their name. The project that's working on getting uh, all the VR stuff working on Linux, which they're progressing very well actually. To finish up and get their driver fixed. Um, and then I will actually be able to basically uninstall Windows and fully transition. But
Wow, that's exciting.
that's pretty much the only thing I'm waiting on now. Like
Hmm.
a couple of weird obscure stuff, but like obscure games and things like that. But
Hmm.
stuff like that, I can easily just open up a virtual machine for if I needed to.
Yeah.
Like that's not something I need a dual boot for. Like these old games and Proton's moving quickly enough, it'll be fixed in no time.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm so impressed with what's happened with Proton because I've been gaming on Linux since 2020 or so. Even since then, it's gotten better. But just the fact that Proton exists. Obviously, Wine was around, and you could always configure Wine to get a lot of games to work. But there's a lot of additional things Proton adds, and it just makes it really, really streamlined. Nowadays, I just grab a game. Like, I'm playing through the Yakuza series right now. I just boot it, and it just works. Like, there might be like a couple of minor tweaks to do, but for the most part, it just works. And that's not something that could have been said a couple of years back.
Definitely not. And it's, everything on the Linux desktop at the moment is progressing so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We have moved from, you want a game, good luck. You want to run any piece of software, good luck. To, we have modern versions of Wine that can run a lot of things now.
Mm-hmm.
We have native support for a lot more applications.
Mm-hmm.
If stuff isn't packaged from your distro, well, that's fine. We have Flatpak now.
Well, if you don't have a Flatpak, there's also DistroBox, which is just a simple way to set up containers.
Well. Yeah, and even if you can't get it through Flatpak, there's also DistroBox. There's so many ways that you can make sure that everything you have is there, and even the primarily Linux applications are being upgraded and updated, and more contributors are joining, and all of this, it's bringing the desktop into a much, much more useful state in an ever-increasing pace.
Absolutely.
And again, that's why we need to go back to this topic that was from ages ago now. That's why we need this KDE network to increase awareness, both to get more contributors and to get more users. Without users, you don't get bugs, and without users, you don't know about bugs.
You don't get bug reports.
You don't get bug reports. Yeah, that's much better. You don't get bug reports, and without bug reports, you can't really fix them. So for our software to be the best it can be, we need people to actually use it.
So how long have you been involved in the Australian KDE network?
Since its inception.
Which was when?
That would have been... that would probably be the very beginning of this year.
Okay, so it is really new then. Okay.
Yeah. If I actually just scroll up, there isn't very much in that channel. I should be able to very quickly find... Oh, I forgot Neko doesn't let me use a scroll bar.
Yeah, I scrolled up and I think it's somewhere around the start of this year.
Yeah, I think it was about the start of this year that the thing was created. You can see, if you scroll up far enough, you'll see where I made the profile picture for the room, which was very jank. Yeah, 1st of December 2022 is when the room was made.
Late last year then.
Yeah, very late last year. Actually, no, it's all pretty much this time last year. It's about a year old. It's almost December. How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer that one for you.
So oh, no, sorry, you said
go on. It's fine.
Oh no, I didn't really have it. I wasn't really going anywhere with that.
Oh. I was gonna ask, what made you want to get involved with it?
Well, I wanted to contribute to KDE somehow, but I didn't really know where I would fit because I'm not a C++ developer.
Do you have any development experience?
I have development experience, and none of it is in C++. And honestly, I do not know if I want to learn C++.
You don't. That's what I'm going to tell you.
That is what I have been told. So to be able to contribute to KDE with code, which is what most people think of when they hear contributing to KDE.
Yeah.
To be able to actually contribute with code, I would have to know C++, and I don't particularly want to learn C++. I'm happy enough with Python, which is not suitable to make a desktop environment with, but I'm happy enough with, doing whatever scripty stuff I do in Python. So I thought, where else can I help? And I was basically just asking around, and I've picked up all these weird sort of odd jobs as I've went. At the moment, I'm doing some minor merge request triaging every now and then. Some minor merge request triaging, just saying, hey, this issue's old. Sorry, not this issue. This merge request hasn't been touched in 3 years and it cannot be merged. Does anyone actually still want to work on this? at all.
Right.
Um, and over time, I eventually found, hey, KDE Network. Hey, there's this KDE Network thing.
Mhm.
Hey, what can I do for promo? You could. Where are you from? Australia. Hey, we don't know anyone in Australia. Do you want to start KDE Network Australia?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that happened. The network has been created, um, but nothing's really happened yet. There's been discussions. Plans have sort of been put in place for when we will have an event. Nothing specific there, but
Mhm.
other than that, I've also moved out, and there are a lot of different ways you can contribute to KDE that does
Mhm.
not involve programming at all.
Absolutely. We already talked about one
And
of them being
there,
translation.
yeah, translation. You can join the KDE network, which significantly helps. I mean, that All American High School Film Festival and what happened in India are
Mhm.
both very, very significant events.
Mhm.
Um, so you could work with promo in that way. You could also work with non-region specific promo, just promoting KDE, helping write Twitter posts, Reddit posts, stuff like that. Um, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. There's always good to have a second pair of eyes reading over material before we send it out.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
there's also you could join any of the. You'd have to if you have to get experience in other places before this, but you could also join any of the working groups. For example, I'm in the community working group. There's also the fundraising working group. If you're
Mhm.
good at helping people coming up ideas with fundraising, there's sysadmin. There's all of these different ways that you can all help.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
even to really obscure stuff. Like I respond to the KDE Connect iOS reviews.
For what? Okay. Sure.
Right? There's all these really odd things that no one would ever think of
Mhm.
that are still things that need to be done.
Yeah.
There are so many random things. Just because you can't code doesn't mean you can't contribute.
Absolutely. Obviously, there's also, just donating if that's something you can do, but
You can also, yeah, there's
we,
also ways to donate, and all of that's on our website.
obviously there's a lot of people that just don't have the resources to do that. But even if you don't have the resources, just documentation stuff also is good to do.
Join on our Wiki Wednesdays,
Mhm.
which are also talking about networks. They are all in time zones that are not very friendly for Australians. But
Yeah.
join our Wiki Wednesdays. Go through and clean up ancient wiki pages that are doing nothing but misleading people because they're ancient. No one's
Yeah.
updated them in such a long time. Go and help out and fix the community wiki, the user base wiki, the other wiki I forgot the name of.
Mhm.
We have 3 wikis. Um, what are they? We have user base, tech base, and community.
Okay. Well, there's even things outside of the project directly. Like you can get involved with packaging on whatever distro you're using. If you happen to be, an Arch user, you can get involved with doing KDE stuff on the Arch wiki. Like all of this stuff, even though it's not directly involved with the project, is also going to help out as well.
Yes, there's so many things in so many places. Everything is done, well, not everything, but almost everything's done by volunteers.
Mhm.
So everyone is happy to have someone new come in and help out as much as they can.
Well, there's my personal favorite that I'm really good at with games, which is breaking everything and finding bugs.
That is also a very valid thing you can do. And we do desperately need bug reports.
Mhm.
So if you would like to be a part of that, again, all of the information on how to contribute
Mhm.
is on. I'm going to see if I can grab that is the wrong page. There is a wiki page that actually goes through
Mhm.
and lists all of the best ways that you
Ah,
can.
yep.
Where in the world is it? I've lost it. I've completely lost the how to contribute page. Um, get involved. Here we go. There is
Mm,
this page that will
yep.
explain. Look, here's how you contribute. You can
Mhm.
donate. You can report issues. You can help direct the development, bug triaging, quality assurance, accessibility, There's a lot of stuff that needs to happen with accessibility. It's very important there. Uh, Management, which is okay, that's just I don't know why it's labeled management. It's actually the gardening team, but there's the gardening team there, which is we need people in the gardening team. Translation. It's called gardening. That's probably why it's labeled that, because there's no actual gardens. Translation, human interface design, web design, documentation, user support. Just hang out in the main KDE chat on Matrix and just help people out.
Yep.
Promotion and KDE Eco.
I think promotion is one that people don't really pay that much attention to. Like, oh, I will occasionally get people being like, "Oh, Brody, you don't do anything helping out." Like, I do a lot of videos on Wayland, and people are like, "Oh, that's not useful. You're not writing code." Like, do you know, like I'm the only person here that is sitting here actually letting people know that some of these issues are being worked on. Like, occasionally you'll see a Phoronix article, but there's a lot of things where it's just, like, skipped over, that people just have no idea are even, like, a thing. Like, the one thing I talked about recently, like, the multi-window app issue with Wayland, where there's no way for windows to place themselves. Like, knowing that exists gives people the ability to actually, go and work on it if they want to go and do so. So promotion, I feel, it's one of those things that is really undervalued because it's not something that is, directly... There's no direct impact that you can link to it, like you can with, writing code or writing documentation.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most important things we can do, because without users, you aren't really a software project. I mean, you are, but not really a notable one.
Sure.
And yeah, there's so much that happens in every single one of these promotions. Incredibly important. Support is incredibly important. You need documentation. We need all of these things to be done. At the moment, we are getting along just fine, but the more hands on deck we have, the better it is for everyone. And for example, actually, the promo team pretty much always watches your videos, Brody. Partially my fault, because I spend probably most of them into the promo chat, but you always bring up something that, hey, look, Brody's mentioned something in this video. We should go work on that.
I do have one that might actually lead to some interesting discussion, because I'm going to test out just using like the Steam Deck interface, like the part of the device that is just directly connected to it, to mess around with KDE and just see how useful it actually is with just those touchpads and just the touchscreen. So maybe there'll be something interesting that comes out of that as well. I'm not entirely sure just yet because I haven't gone and done so.
That would actually be interesting, and again, that would be something that video, your experience with that, would be handed all around the interface designers and all of that. Like, people do in KDE watch your videos. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, it's always weird to me that when I find out that someone that I already knew about is like, oh yeah, I watch your content. Like, what? What do you mean? Like when a good example of this, I know that Joshua Strobel, the budgie guy, before I'd ever spoken to him, I knew that he would occasionally show up in my comment section and just correct like some little thing about budgie, or mention some little thing that I didn't mention. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, the space is a really small space, but I think, like, how would I say this? It's a small space, but there is a lot of different people in it, and there is a lot more collaboration than people might realize just looking at it from the outside, or looking at it at like a surface level.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that sort of shows that is the fact that KDE and GNOME, while we are separate projects, we aren't really directly competing with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're both aiming for the exact same thing. We just have different products to show for it.
Mm-hmm. There will certainly be instances in certain repos where developers might butt heads. Like, a good example of this is the Wayland Protocols repo. Because even though you're both trying to make a desktop and both trying to make a great, these different experiences, there are things that do affect both systems, and both projects might have different ideas about where they want to take it. And when it's something that's supposed to be this cross-desktop solution, that's when you are going to see some of that like butting heads, trying to work out how do we actually do this in a way that we both benefit from.
Yeah, there of course will be times where people don't agree on stuff, but with KDE we actually do have a separate group that can come in if a dispute gets too heated or if someone isn't playing nice, to try and settle that and make that not a thing, because we want this to be as inviting for anyone. Anyone to easily come in, and people, because everyone's volunteers, we can't have people being frustrated with the way things are being done. That's just not right.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Trying to maintain a community that people want to get involved with, I'm sure is difficult at the scale of something like KDE.
Yes, it is. It very much is. I'm on that team.
It does help, though, that one of the things that is an issue with these like cross desktop repos is you have all of these projects that have these different goals, but at least with KDE, you all agree on like the fundamentals. There's nobody arguing that, the Qt framework shouldn't be used, for example. Like, there are these core things that are a part of KDE that everybody just agrees on. It's just more of the specific implementation details and how we want to go about addressing these problems. And I'm sure when it comes to like the UI design stuff, there is a lot of heated discussions about exactly where a button should be placed, how that button should be styled, and things like that.
Yes, there would be, pretty much everywhere you go, there's going to be people disagreeing. Usually in KDE, it's not too heated. It's not too much of it doesn't spiral out of control.
Right.
Sometimes it does. Like, it happens. But at least it doesn't seem to be it doesn't seem to go as bad as some of those cross repo things, again, because we have those things that everyone agrees with. Cross project repos, I mean.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. It's just, dealing with people is just a challenge, no matter what the situation is. And being able to put your own goals aside and at least listen to what someone else is saying, I think it's an important skill for everyone.
It is incredibly important. And yeah, a lot of people, or pretty much everyone really in KDE has that. And we're trying our best to make that everyone. I can't provide specifics, but
no, that's understandable.
yeah.
Let's see. Where can we go from here? I actually don't know. Actually, go on.
Oh. I said then my computer locked, and then I forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to turn that off. Wait, where's the switch? Where's the battery manually locks? There we go. No more screen locking.
So what I was going to say, obviously the first year of you being in the Australian KDE network, it's understandable that there isn't going to be that much that gets done, because everyone's sort of trying to work out like what can we do, where's a good place to go. Because I scrolled through that the chat log, and I noticed that you were like, I didn't even realize that I think it was Linux Conf existed. So that first year, everyone's kind of just trying to get used to it and work out like what even can we do. But going into 2024, obviously you can't make any promises about, exactly what is going to happen, but what would you like to get done? Or at least try to get done.
Specifically for KDE Network Australia, we want to at least turn up to our first event would be a good start. We want to, turn up to an event and at least get that done, see if we can promote, see how it goes, and mainly just test the waters is one of the first things we want to do is in 2024. Test the waters, work out, okay, is this particular event something we want to go to?
Yep.
And also getting the promotion materials made primarily. Because I do not currently own a KDE promo tablecloth. I do not own a KDE promo banner. Once we've got those sorted, we can just bring those across to as many events as we go to. But that's not currently a thing that we have. So getting those basic materials and going to that first event is our primary goal. And just showing off, seeing if this event is someone that already knows about us, or even something I've sort of thrown around. Why don't we go to something that isn't specifically open source related? What if we go to something that is like techie? So there'd be people who would potentially be interested in our software, even if they're using Windows, because a lot of our software exists on Windows. Like Critter and Kden Live, again, those are the two big ones I can think of. Oh, and Ocula's actually really nice on Windows as well. So those main three apps, just sort of demonstrating those on both Windows and Linux and Mac OS, but I'm not bringing my Mac out to an event. That thing is heavy. Showing how, look, we make software for everything. This is entirely KDE. This is Windows with a couple of KDE apps. Even things that aren't specifically open source related, because while we can show ourselves off in the open source bubble, and there'll be things that people didn't know about, bursting that bubble and advertising outside of that is one of the best things that we can do. For example, how much did we get done at Scale 19 versus the film festival? The film festival had a much more positive impact than Scale 19X. Scale 19X was still a very good event that we definitely was worth going to.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the film festival had a much more positive impact.
Yeah, if you're just talking to people that, already use Linux, and maybe some of them already use KDE, like, it's great to be there, it's great to have some representation there, but you don't, like, it's sort of the problem that the FSF has had for a long time, where you don't need to advertise free software to the people that are using free software. Like, they know it's good already. Like, there's not a ton that you can really achieve there.
Yes, and again, because we're promoting free software via KDE, we aren't really, advertising KDE versus GNOME or anything like that. That's not our goal. So yeah, we've tossed around ideas of different events that we can go to. Team up with an artist and go to some convention where there'll be a lot of artists. I've tossed around the idea of going to a FurCon, like a furry convention. Teaming up with a Critter artist, sharing a booth with them and saying, look, we have an artist here, they do Critter. We are the people that make Critter. Critter's free. Use it, it's good. that's not actually the pitch, but you get what I
Yeah,
you
I
get
get
what I
what you're
mean.
saying.
I'd have something much better if I actually went ahead and did that.
Well,
Um,
Crit I think is a really good example there because I've watched some streams from artists and like people will talk about Critter as just a good tool. They'll be like, "Oh, I use Clip Studio Paint. I use Critter," and it's just like as a part of just a list of things they use. They just don't think about the people behind it. So that I think is a really easy entry point that already has some public recognition. It's just the people behind it don't really have that same recognition.
yes, it's sort of advertising. We make Critter. Look
Mhm.
at what else we make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is definitely something we can do,
Mhm.
and that would also be part of the pitch that we would do there if we went ahead and went to a Furcon or if we went to anything else where there'd be a large amount of artists or
Mhm.
yeah, there's lots of different places we can go with lots of different things that can be done.
Mhm.
At the moment, we've just got to decide where to go and what we should be primarily promoting there.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm sure that's sort of the tough part as well. Just working out exactly how to do the whatever demos and presentations are going to be done because I'm assuming none of the people involved have any experience doing that.
Um, yeah, I don't have a lot of experience directly doing that.
Mhm.
I have done like little fundraisers in like before, like I did a fundraiser for my robotics team
Mhm.
recently when we had to go over to the US
Mhm.
when we were not expecting to have to do that. Uh, we went to an event. They were like, "Oh yeah, congratulations, you won. You can go to the US now. It's in a month, by the way." So I have experience doing that sort of thing, but
Uh-huh.
going to a convention
Mhm.
to and being behind a booth instead of the other way around
Mm.
would be very different, and not very many people have experience with that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's something I'm sure I can sort of pick up as I go along,
Mm.
but it's definitely going to be new for me, but new skills are new skill. There's again, I'm gaining out of this as well. I'm, getting up my public speaking. Yeah.
And I'm sure that first time doing it is going to be a really big learning experience for that'll really help out with the second time because the first time you might have a plan in mind, but when you put that into practice, it doesn't really play out the way you think it does. So doing that, and then the second time, you're like, okay, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. Let's do it this. Let's try it out in another way and just see if this actually clicks. And then maybe there's also sort of a different way of doing it that works better at certain events. Like if you're doing a very techie event, you can present things in one way, whereas if you're doing something like that film festival, there might be a whole different way you'd want to present it. Like with the some sort of techie event, there's a lot of things you can assume the people there probably know. Like, you don't really need to explain the concept of what open source is to a general tech conference. Most people probably have an understanding, but if you're dealing with a film festival, maybe no one there has any idea.
Yes. Um, Although explaining what exactly open source is to that sort of degree isn't exactly the most important thing. I
Well, yeah,
think
maybe it's
saying
that,
it's
but
free. It's
that's
free,
mhm.
yeah, is
But
the most important.
what I was going to get at there is maybe you realize that you don't need to explain it. Like you do that once, and then you're like, oh, that's actually not that important. It's as you said, it's it being free that's a lot more important to it.
Yeah. If they stick around for a bit, because again, you only have so long before the person gets bored and walks over to some other booth.
Yeah, yeah.
The most important thing is we make this editing software. It's free. Here's a laptop that
Yeah.
has it on, has it installed.
Mhm.
Look at what you can do.
Mhm.
It's good. Give them a sticker or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think that's what the film festival did. They were giving out stickers to anyone who popped over to the booth.
That is a good way to do it. Everyone loves stickers. They don't know what they're gonna do with them, but they'll just take a sticker.
That is me. I do that. I will always take a sticker if there is one on a table.
I'm a business card person. I will. If you have a business card, I will take your business card.
I will also take business cards. I have a pile of business cards from the last convention I went to.
Yeah, I feel like this is a habit I picked up from my dad because when I was a kid, he had like a giant. It's basically like, a giant folder with nothing but business cards in it. He would never use any of them. He just had them.
I have business cards for Twitch streamers.
I'm sure that's super useful.
And the only information it has on it
Mhm.
is their Twitch and like their name.
Yeah.
Look, here's my name, here's my VTuber avatar, here's my Twitch.
Mhm.
I still have it.
Mhm.
I have a couple of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what ends up happening through the year then. Do you have any ideas about trying something like outside of obviously I know there's been talk about like Linux Conf and everything open. Has there been any talk about trying out something like a film festival or something just outside of that tech space, or not really yet?
There has been a short discussion that I
Mhm.
mostly proposed as I wonder if promo will be okay with this idea at all.
Mhm.
When I suggested, hey, we could turn up at a FurCon,
Right,
like
right.
a furry convention. That's the main one that I've sort of brought up because a lot of, not all, but a
Mhm.
lot of people in that furry community are very tech centric.
Mhm.
So they will have a bit of an understanding of that sort of stuff, but might not be fully in that community in the same way.
Right, right.
So it is, I think, and also the art, there's a huge art culture.
Mhm.
So we could advertise things, we could advertise Critter, or we could advertise things via Critter, depending on if the person knows about it or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do there. We haven't really discussed anything other than that because discussing conventions that we could go to instead of conventions that we will go to,
Mhm.
one's significantly more productive than the other. So we've just decided to
Right.
let's wait until everyone's actually ready to go to a convention
Mhm.
first.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
Because everyone's been busy, and for example, I'm actually located in a particularly remote part of New South Wales, so I can't easily travel to a convention.
Right, right. Okay.
If I wanted to do something up in Sydney, which would probably be where it is,
Mhm.
that's 5 hours drive.
Oh, you are really, really rural. I didn't.
So yeah, like while I could say KDE please pay for my fuel, and they'll probably pay for 80% of it. It's
Yeah.
normally what they would do in that case. First thing, no, I don't want to travel 5 hours to do some to go to a convention where
Yeah.
I'm advertising KDE and then go 5 hours home again.
I think a lot of people just don't realize how big Australia is as well. Like, because, like, most people live along the coastline. And when you just
Yeah,
consider that, like, it's not that big of a deal. But even for me, right? Like, I live in the, like, northern Adelaide suburbs. Even for me, it's like maybe like half an hour to drive into the city. If I wanted to go out, I've got family members out in places like Clare. It's like a 2 hour drive to get to them. And that's only like uh, let's say a 20th of the way to the border. Like if you're going north.
yeah, it is a huge country.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's just the size makes things difficult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But hey, it is a lot easier to be 5 hours away from a place
Mhm.
than it is to be, flying from Europe, which is mostly
That's
what
true.
this project tries to prevent.
Let's.
We do not need to pay for plane tickets to send the promo contractors out to every single country on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think people who donate to KDE would even want that anyway. That's
Mm-hmm.
terrible.
Just for context, if I wanted to go to Frankfurt, um, just the first one that shows up, $3,000.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That is Australian dollars, though.
Yes, yes. So yeah, Monopoly money. Um, but even so, it's a lot of money.
It is still a lot of money, even when you translate that to US
Mm-hmm.
or euros.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a lot of. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to be able to build up more of an ecosystem for this stuff in Australia because, as we mentioned, there is things like Linux Conf. There is everything open. We have like PyConf Australia as well, but there's not that many strictly like open source things and Linux things in Australia. And if there is a way to promote the like extended use of the software, maybe over time you start seeing more of these events cropping up in more states.
Yes. We are very willing to try and grow this, um, grow all of them, all of the KDE networks as much as we can,
Mm-hmm.
and especially get more networks in place as well.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, if I just now this isn't always the most up to date,
Mm-hmm.
but if I just click on just one of the pages of the KDE network, um, this country has one member,
Mm-hmm.
members of the group, this person, and we would like more members to join the team.
Okay.
I can tell. Um, we've got Mexico. Mexico has one person as well. Again, according to the wiki page, there might have been people who joined in the Matrix but never added themselves to the wiki. That does happen
Right.
occasionally.
Mexico. Yep. Mm-hmm. And we'd like more members to join for sure. I'm sure you do.
So again, if you are from any of these places, please reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Join the channel. The Matrix channels are all in these wiki pages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully, after this, at least some more people happen to know about it. Because as I said at the start, and I've said a couple of times, I did not have any idea this existed. Because let me see. I'm just for anyone who's curious, who hasn't tried it yet. If we search for the KDE network, not the KDE network community, just the KDE network on Google, which is, a good search engine, you probably are not going to find it. So unless you know that this exists, actually getting involved was difficult. Like, I'm sure there are people who'd be more than willing to get involved that just had no idea that this was even a thing.
Yeah, I agree. Knowledge of this is definitely an issue. I'm still scrolling. I have not found anything actually about the KDE network yet. I've found the
Oh, wait,
KDE
wait.
Wikipedia page.
I found it. It is on the second page under some random Linux and Unix Stack Exchange post.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then below that is a network manager issue on KDE Neon from 2019.
So even if you do know about it, you're going to have trouble finding it. Because to be able to find it, you'd have to cite the KDE network community.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because the subdomain is community.kde.org.
Okay. Maybe there's a reason for this. Why is it not called the KDE community? Why? Like, I get it. It's like a network of groups. Like, that makes sense from a naming perspective, but from a SEO perspective, there has got to be a better name for it, surely.
I'm sure there is a better name for it. isn't network manager.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a reason it's not called the KDE community.
Mm-hmm.
It's because anyone who really contributes in any way, anyone who's part of KDE, is a part of the KDE community.
Mm.
Like, because the community isn't, because these are many separate communities that are specifically for promotion
What
in
about...
those
Wait,
regions.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
KDE Community Network.
KDE Community Network, that might work. It's a bit of a...
Yeah, it's a bit wordy.
Yeah, it's a bit wordy. I'm sure there are names that we could call it that isn't this confusing, but for now, at least, it is the KDE network.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of different places. We need more networks, and we need more people in those networks.
Yep, for sure. One thing, this is a bit off topic. One thing I did want to ask you, because I ask everybody who is at all involved in KDE about this. Single click or double click?
I am personally double click.
What? You were the first one. Okay. What is your logic here?
I am used to it.
Okay.
That is my logic.
Okay.
I am used to it. That is not something that I would like to change. Also, I will have to use Windows occasionally, and I do not have to want to reconfigure every single Windows machine I touch.
Right. Okay.
Because I will switch between Windows and Linux. If I get used to single click,
mm-hmm.
I will, sit down at someone else. Like, I'll go to my friend's place and then just single click on everything,
mm-hmm.
and they'll look at me like I'm completely insane. I do not want to have to relearn how to use my computer. Also, on things that are single click, to highlight something, I have to draw. But I know this isn't the only way to do it,
mm-hmm.
but I'm in the habit of drawing a selection box around it, which isn't always easy or possible.
Right.
Depending on the spacing between items.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mainly, most reason is just habit.
Right.
Single click probably is the better choice, like
mm-hmm.
the superior option. But I'm used to this. This isn't something I'm going to change. KDE prides itself on being the most customizable, so it's not like we're going to take away single clicks to double click support.
Mm-hmm. I think
I've changed the font of the clock on my desktop.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I can make it double click.
Actually, that's something I will say. One of the things I really don't like about KDE is that font that I always see in the screenshots. Oh my god, I really hate the font. It looks so bad.
Which font?
The font that is is it just the default font for KDE? Like when that whatever font is being used for the clock, I really just don't like.
I'm noting that down.
It's probably just a me thing, and nobody else cares. But there's something about the font that bothers me. To be fair, I do everything with like JetBrains mono, so maybe it's just a me thing. And as soon as
you can change it to JetBrains mono.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. And that's what I'll do the second I install Plasma 6.
I'm not even talking about like the clock down there, which I actually have seconds turned on for. Mm. I mean, I actually placed a clock, like a digital clock widget on my desktop and changed it to a invented language.
Okay, sure.
I don't actually, like, I can read it, but I just don't bother. And at this point, it's actually just a cool decoration on my desktop.
Okay. Why not?
But it changes. It's interactive. There's lots of little funny things you can do with KDE like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things I do like about KDE, that it's always been like really big on customization. Like, not to say anything bad about GNOME, I like what GNOME does, where they're trying to do a very crafted experience. And for the people who want a crafted experience, that is, a great place to go. But if you're looking for something that you can really make your own, and you don't want to, use a tiling window manager. Really, right now, the the best option that's actually being actively worked on is probably KDE.
Yeah, Plasma has a lot of stuff you can do with it. For example, I have a color picker in my dock, which is, I mean, sorry, not dock, in the panel. I used macOS terms. That's really odd for me. Okay. In the panel, I have a color picker in the panel that I can just pick any screen color, and I can get the exact hex code for it, copy it to my clipboard. There's one of the colors used in your profile picture.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I use
it's
color
very
picker
quick
very
for
often.
me to pull that up.
Yeah, I use a color picker very often. My current color picker is this. I think it's a C program written like 20 years ago. It just opens up like a it changes my cursor. It pauses the screen. I can just pick a thing, and that's it. Just copies to my clipboard. There's nothing else to it. Sometimes it breaks and locks up my entire desktop, which is fun.
Oh dear.
So it doesn't actually. So what it does is it visually covers the screen, but I can still use my desktop. So I have a hotkey to open up my terminal, and if I kill the application, everything comes back. But it's not good when it happens.
I would highly recommend using the KDE one if you ever switch over to Plasma.
Yeah, that
because
seems like a good solution.
If you just have that icon in your dock, click on the little color picker, pick a color. The color appears in that little preview window. You can. I'm just going to send another screenshot here. You can then click on the little dot, and it will show you those colors. Click on any of those colors to copy the hex code.
That is a lot more sensible.
And for me, that is just permanently in that dock. And I can just, it's small enough, it doesn't really get in my way. I can just pull that up anytime I need it.
I don't think you noticed, but you kept saying dock.
I'm still saying dock.
You are still saying dock.
Look, most people, I'm doing better. Some people are still calling it the taskbar.
Yeah.
Which is confusing because the taskbar usually contains a task manager, which is another different Windows thing that has a completely different purpose. The task manager is actually the icons to open apps and close them. Basically, the thing you're using it most for.
Yeah, when I first heard panel in KDE, I was confused for a while. I didn't really know what was being talked about.
Yeah, the terminology isn't the same as everything else. Again, because it's so customizable, all of these terms are very foreign for a lot of people.
Without just copying other terms that exist, like that are like Windows terms or Mac terms, like there's not really any way you can really get around that besides just having easy ways to explain it.
And even if we did decide we are calling it the taskbar, right? You can have a taskbar without a task manager. It's optional.
Right.
So what do you have if you have a taskbar without the task? That's just a bar.
Status bar.
You can have one without a status bar. You can pull that out.
So you just have an empty bar there if you want to.
You can have a bar, like an entire panel on your screen, and all it is just lots of color pickers. You've just filled it with many, many color pickers.
Sure.
You can put what widgets have we got? You can have the time.
Just have time in every.
You can have an analog clock.
Just have time in like a bunch of different countries.
Yeah, just have an analog clock for every time zone. I actually don't know if you can do that. We probably can.
If you can't, someone add that just for the memes.
Yeah, someone should absolutely add that. That'd be good. Having different time zones for each panel, for each widget.
Actually, having the ability to set multiple time zones is kind of useful, especially if you are someone who does meetings with people. You know, in like you got like American meetings or whatever, and you're in Australia.
Yes. Another thing, actually, don't think this. Yeah, it won't let you put it in a panel, but there is actually a widget that you can put
Hmm.
on the desktop. Which at this point, if you might as well not use a panel for this, what we're talking about, that shows individual usage of each core. Like you can have system monitors
Hmm.
there as well. Um, Again, all these things that Windows got rid of with Windows 8.
Mm.
Windows 8? No, Windows 10. The those sort of widgets that they got rid of back
Hmm.
then. The Windows 7 ones were good. I liked the like the basically the system monitor one in Windows 7. That
Yeah.
was actually useful. Either way, you can bring that back with Plasma, put it anywhere on your desktop, resize it, change the font of your clock
Hmm.
to a language that literally doesn't exist. Have the time in words.
Please, like, you can do it. Please don't do that. Just learn to, at a minimum, learn to read numbers. Please.
uh, I have I have the time
Mhm.
written out on my desktop. I have it. Um, Actually, I'll just properly take a screenshot. This is here. I also have the time in numbers at the
I
bottom
hate,
right.
I hate
Normally
that
where it would
so
be,
much.
which is good.
I hate
But
that.
I just find this incredibly funny.
I hate that so much. If you want to do it, it's your system. Go right ahead, but I'm certainly not going to.
I love the fact that I can.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But
Hmm.
in this case, like you've mentioned when you read out that article about what was it, Write Dumb Software or
Mm,
something like
mm,
that.
mm, mm.
Um, just because you can sometimes means you should. In this case, I decided that I should.
Hey, look, if you can do it, why not? Like same with the cube, which recently came back.
Yes, the cube is great. Cube is love, cube is life.
I I don't get the love for the cube. I really don't.
I personally do not use the cube. Um, but we knew that it was big enough to the point where the promo team, I think their post was just the cube is back
Hmm. Hmm.
with just an image of the cube and nothing else.
Yep, yep.
Um,
It is just an iconic part of like the early part of Linux compositing that everybody sort of knows about it.
yes. Um, it's a thing there. We can have it. Why not? Doesn't mean you should. I
Mhm.
mean, if you have a look at a lot of the different, especially in Plasma 5, they're
Mhm.
actually removing a couple of the pointless ones in Plasma 6.
Mhm.
But if you actually look at the task switcher, which is like the Alt Tab menu,
Mm.
you can choose cover flow,
Cover flow.
like cover switch. It's called like a
Oh.
non-Apple branded cover flow
Mhm.
as a valid option.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of different options that you can pick in there for how you want your Alt Tab menu to work.
Mhm. Mhm.
If anything, the cube is probably more useful than cover switch. Um, I personally use it.
Mhm.
It's probably not the most useful one I could use though.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
I could get a lot more information over choosing Breeze or Compact or small icons
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or text only. Who would use text only?
Text only.
That is
Um,
exactly what it says on the tin.
if you use a screen reader and you don't need the graphical display.
Oh, yes, that actually would be a useful thing for that.
If you don't need a screen reader and you're doing it, I think you're a crazy person, but sure. The options there is accessibility, and for everyone else, I don't know why you're using it.
Yes. Again, yeah, there's lots of lots of different options there. Some
Mhm.
of them you probably should use, and other ones Nate mentioned in his blog you probably shouldn't. And they're going away because they are literally just a slightly worse version of another option.
Right, right.
I think there was something about, I can't remember if these were the exact ones, but I think it was like grid versus large icons,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, there was a couple of these here, like thumbnails versus thumbnail grid, and
Mm-hmm.
one was just a slightly more polished version than the other.
Well, that makes sense because there's been like a lot of these effects have been around for a long, long time. So,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, they are basically the same thing. Okay.
they are. Yeah, they are pretty much the same thing. One just has very slightly improved versions
Mm-hmm.
of everything. So it's like, okay, why are we still maintaining both?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are the same option,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can customize it. You can, again, probably the best thing about KDE is the fact that you can customize it to be literally anything you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
People have done skins that, well, not skins, well, global themes is the correct term, that can completely transform the user interface into something that looks completely different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Obviously, the most popular examples are the Windows themes.
yes, of course they are. Um, and all of that is incredibly possible through this system we've got set up. You can also download all of those themes directly from the directly from system settings. Really,
Mm-hmm. Windows.
all you do to change your theme is you just go to the appearance section, which is right at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Get new global themes, and you can. There's actually the name of the window that pops up when you do that is my favorite repo name. Hey new stuff. Then K new stuff will open up, also known as download new global themes
Mm-hmm.
system settings. You just pick a theme, hit install, it'll download it, and then you can just switch to it. And or even just switch to part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Change some settings but not others.
Yep. Yep.
It is incredibly customizable. Want to change your default system font, which actually I'm pretty sure that default clock is the standard system font.
Mm-hmm.
You can set it to a monotype font if you want. Just install that font and just tell KDE this is my font. I use this one.
I guarantee any typist out there hates the fact that I use a monospace font for a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Like, no, that's incorrect. You can't do that. Like, not my problem.
KWrite is always monotype.
Mm-hmm.
I just use that for general note taking, which
Yeah.
means I use monotype fonts for general note taking quite a lot.
All my notes are in Vim, so yeah, I use a monospace font because I got it set up for programming.
Sure.
Please don't program without a monospace font if you are. Actually, better yet, don't. I saw someone programming in a cursive font. Like, please don't do that.
Oh, I was about to say that actually. Oh no. I thought that was a joke. I've seen people programming in cursive as
I
a joke.
think yeah, a lot of it is jokes. But I'm sure there are people that do it like seriously. Here's the worst example.
Oh yes, I have seen that.
There are actually programming fonts that do have some cursive elements that I don't hate.
Oh,
But
like Python F strings having the mathematical F.
um actually, I think this is a good example where I wouldn't say I like this. But I don't hate it as much. It uses cursive for like key values.
Oh, at least it differentiates them.
Yeah, that's it's a bit too cursive for me, but something a bit lighter than that I think actually is a good visual indicator of what's happening.
Um, italics could also work.
Italics also works. You are right there.
Um, but that works too, I guess.
Look, as you said, customization is great.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should, and that's why we're giving you that power.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want, we're going to set you very sane defaults,
Mhm.
defaults that you can happily just not ever change
Mhm.
and just use your system as normal, and you probably won't even care.
Mhm.
But if you want to change something, we will give you every option.
Mhm. Well, on that note, I think we should be wrapping it up.
Okay.
So, let people know where they can, I guess, get involved with KDE Networks. Where if they want to get involved with the Australian one, where they can go for that as well.
So to get involved with KDE Networks, um, I would recommend going to the KDE Network wiki page.
Mhm.
I'm guessing you'll put the link in the description somewhere for that.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Check in the description. There will be a wiki page for the KDE network. Right at the top, there is a Matrix join link. Um, you will need a Matrix account to join. Uh, it might try to get you to make a kde.org Matrix account.
Mhm.
Those are not open to the public. Make one with whatever Matrix hosting service you want to use. Matrix.org hosts one. It's fine. Um, so make a Matrix account.
Mhm.
Join us there. Um, there is, if you can't manage to work it out, there is also apparently a KDE Network Telegram. Uh, you would be able to join there and see if you can get your Matrix stuff set up that way.
Mhm.
If you'd like to help out in other ways, there is always the KDE Get Involved page, and there is information for every different way that you can possibly help us there.
Sweet. And as for the Australian one, if they want to get involved with that one
Oh,
specifically.
specifically for the Australian one. Okay. If you want to join any specific network, include.
Oh, we lost him. Hello? Hello? Is that my side or is that your side? Uh,
Hello, is this working?
yes, it is working now.
My UPS just beeped.
Oh, that okay. Yep. Okay. Well, let's wrap this up quickly then.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm on my phone now. Because okay, that's fine. Anyway, so if you want to join specifically the Australian group, there is also a link for the Australian page on that wiki page that's in that description. There's a link for the Australian page. Join our specific Matrix channel.
Mhm.
There is information there just join that Matrix channel, say hi, and everyone will get you in. Let you know, hey, what can be done. If you want to contribute to any specific events, just let us know in the channel. And there's a lot of different stuff that can happen there, and that goes for any of the KDE networks, not just Network Australia.
Right. Awesome. Anything else you want to shout out, or is that pretty much it? I can do my outro.
Yeah, that's pretty much. You can go into the outro.
Awesome. Okay, so if you want to see my gaming stuff, I stream twice a week over on Brody on Games on YouTube and Twitch. I'm probably playing not Armored Core and Kingdom Hearts. I'm probably playing through Neptunia Sisters versus Sisters and Neo the World Ends With You. So come hang out for the weeb garbage. Have fun with that. If you want to see my Linux stuff, that is over on Brody Robertson. I do videos there 6-ish days a week. Sometimes it's KDE stuff, and when Plasma 6 comes out, expect to see a couple of videos about that. There's probably going to be some Steam Deck videos coming out as well, so I'm sure there'll be something fun. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, you can find the video version on YouTube at Tech Over Tea. If you're watching the video and want to find the audio, there is an RSS feed. There is a podcast feed on every platform out there. Chuck it in your favorite app if you want to use that instead. I noticed that below Spotify, my biggest group is AntennaPod. Great app. Go use it. Does KDE have a podcast app?
Podcast app? I do believe we do. I do not know the name of it.
Let's see.
Not good considering this is a promo thing I'm doing. But yes, we do have a podcast app. Casts, yes. I think that is more for Plasma Mobile, but it should work on desktop as well. Pretty much everything that works on Plasma Mobile works on desktop. So
it's on FlatHub, so I'm guessing you could just install it, see what happens.
Yeah.
The screenshots here are mobile screenshots. Oh yeah, it's got a very adaptive UI. Okay.
Yes. As far as I know, I'm not 100% on this, but pretty much everything that we make for Plasma Mobile, or even a lot of the stuff that's made for desktop, the KDE frameworks essentially force you to make the app in a way that is very adaptive between everything.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Depending on which framework you use.
Okay, sweet. I think that's pretty much it then. I'll give you the final word. What do you want to say?
I don't actually have anything to say.
No one ever does. I just let them just go with it, see what happens.
Just go with it, see what happens. That probably happens quite a lot.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Yeah.